Hello.
Pearl,
Hi.
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I saw your interview with Tate. That was quite interesting.
What did you think of it?
It was good. It was good. It was interesting.
What did you find interesting about it?
Well, because he doesn't like therapy. It was actually my idea to do that. I didn't say you, but I gave him that idea, the therapy episode.
You did?
Yeah, I told him to do that. I thought it'd be. I'm the genius.
You're the genius. You are a genius. I mean, look, you're creating an empire.
Yeah.
How how is that for you?
Um, the which part?
Well, just you're building something huge. I mean, you've become this huge cultural figure. I can imagine you. It's a surprise to you, or
Oh
is it?
yeah. Well, I felt like I'd blow up a little bit. Like I thought I'd maybe get like 200, 300,000 subscribers. But no, I didn't expect to blow up like this quickly at all. No. I
Was
thought
that the
like
plan?
um no, it wasn't like the plan at the time. I really just kind of followed what I was interested in. Um and I really liked watching Kevin Samuels, so I kind of blew up like reacting to his stuff. Um, and then yeah, it just I was
Who's I don't know Kevin. I don't know Kevin Samuels. What's he do?
oh really? You don't know him? He's
I'm an old guy. I don't know all. I you know I pay attention to you because I found you. I mean, you came up on my TikTok and you were just talking smack to all these feminists, and I was like, oh, here it is. Finally, somebody is
I'm
saying
here.
the thing that needed to be said, and you did it very skillfully and entertaining, and yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, well, it started I was recruited to play volleyball in England.
Hmm.
So I came here to play volleyball and then get my master's degree. And then after practice or like whatever, I would just tell people to come over and like we can do a show on relationships. So I would just recruit people from like the gym I was in.
Hmm.
And at the time, I reacted to Kevin Samuels and I watched him a lot. So a lot of times I would bring up like topics that he'd talk, about on his show. And I kind of wanted to see like what the average person thought of them.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I found that a lot of me and the women had like different opinions. So
Really? Sorry, I'm just
yeah.
adjusting my camera here. I realized I was on the wrong camera. Here we go. Um, and it was the plan to. I mean, how did you? I mean, how did you find your way into this? Was this
Oh, I'm not really a planner. So no, it
you're
was
not a planner?
no.
You're
I'm
just
actually quite
following this?
no, I'm quite disorganized actually. I wish I was more of a planner. Like that's probably my worst like trait that I'm pretty disorganized. I don't plan very well. No, I would always just follow what I was interested in. So, um yeah, my dad always told me to just like do things that you're passionate about and follow what you enjoy doing. And so I started off like reacting to how much I've had so many different like pieces of content I've done, but the manosphere stuff in particular, I started reacting to Kevin Samuels Fresh and Fit. And then I just thought it was really interesting. And
Hmm.
I wanted to like at the time I felt like I could explain ideas that they would talk about like in a more feminine way. Like I felt like I could like break it down slowly. I was like, I think these girls could like get it. Um, I kind of have a different opinion now.
That
uh,
what do you mean? That they don't they can't get it?
no, sometimes, yeah. There's because actually people think it was my show that blew up my page, but the
Uh huh.
first viral thing that happened was I would do the show, and then after, if there was a girl where like, I would explain the pay gap wasn't real, like we're not
Yeah.
discriminated, or something basic, and I would
Yeah.
just say to the girl, "Hey, why don't you come back later, and we can react to like a long form, like it would be Jordan Peterson a lot, so like a long." They call me the tour guide of that that video of the with the blonde curly haired feminine.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I would literally just sit with them, and this would be like a 3 hour video where I'm just like breaking down, okay, the pay gap isn't real. This is propaganda, that's propaganda. And yeah, sometimes they would get it, but then other times it was just like talking to a wall. But I've done that. I can't even count how many women I've like done that with. I've had so many girls come back after and we just like react to stuff.
And obviously, you get a lot of pushback, and people are upset. How do you? I mean, you seem like you're able to navigate that negative transference that's put on you. Is that difficult? Does it get to you? Is it frustrating, scary, sad?
Um, it did. I would say last year was kind of hard. Um, More so because I had people like I thought I was friends with that were like I don't know, they were just saying it was that I took kind of hard, but when it's strangers on the internet, I don't really care
Right.
because it's like I don't know you.
Is it lonely, the position that you're in, because you're holding a lot, like you are this sort of you're you, but you're also a character now online, and there's a lot that's projected onto you, and there's a lot that you I guess now you're in this career and it has a life of its own,
Mhm.
and now you have this whole operation. Is that, I don't know, how is that for you emotionally?
It's okay. Like I'm always so like busy that I don't really stop to be like lonely, you know.
Think about it.
Yeah.
What's your social life like?
I play volleyball, so I have some friends on like my volleyball team.
Uh-huh.
And then I talk to my family a lot. Like I talk to my dad probably like every other day or something like that. My brothers too. And my sisters. Because I have 9 siblings. So so
That's
I
incredible. Well, I want to get into that.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
9 siblings. You talk to your dad every other day. Does he offer you a lot of support?
Yeah. Well, he helps me a lot because he like had a business growing up. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times we're like trying to figure out like whatever the issue is in the business or just like life advice my dad is really good for.
What kind of life advice does he give you?
Um, I mean it depends on the situation, but like if I get really frustrated with something, like my dad is the most like even, cool, like calm, collected guy
Mm-hmm.
ever. So if I'm like frustrated about a problem, he's really good about being like, okay, what is the solution to that problem?
Right.
And that's like the biggest I guess piece of advice he gives me is whenever there's like a problem, you have to focus on the solution because if you focus on the problem, then you're just gonna get more upset, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what.
Nine, nine kids.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How many boys? How many girls?
Um, I don't know how to count it, and I never really know how to answer this question, and I'll tell you why. So when I know. So when I was growing up, I was the second of six. There were 6 people in the house.
Okay.
I'm between 2 boys, and out of the original 6, there was 2 boys, and 4 girls. And so it would go boy, me, boy, 3 girls at the bottom. When I was a year old, my parents adopted a teenager. Or actually, I think it was
Mm.
she came in before I was born. But I never lived with her, and she only lived with us for maybe like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But she was legally adopted, but I didn't grow up with her. Then my parents adopted a kid on my brother's football team. He was homeless. He was around
Wow.
15, but they did that after I left the house.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, he like I didn't grow up with him, and they did that also for another he was like a second or third cousin of ours. And then when I was 22, I found out that I had a brother they gave up for adoption. So my parents have known each other. Yeah, I know. I didn't know he existed till I was 22. So when I yeah, basically my parents sat us down and said, "You have a brother. This is his name." And then yeah.
You had all
Um
these kids, but they adopted, but they also gave up one
yeah,
of their
because they were really
children.
young. That
They
happened
were
when they like
young.
first met. Because my parents have been
Oh.
together since they were like teenagers. So I think that happened like in the beginning, they gave him up, and then like
Yeah.
5, 6 years later, they ended up getting married. But he grew up with a different family. So
Right.
total it's 10. But so you see what I'm saying when I never know how to
I
answer this
understand. I
question because it's
understand.
like
Yeah. That's no, it's
I grew
complicated.
up with 6, but total there's 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I guess, I mean, that's quite, I mean, your parents seem like remarkable people just on the surface. When I hear that story, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And what did you take from that? How did that impact you? How did that affect your worldview or your sense of yourself?
Growing up in a big family, or which part of it?
Just that your parents were, well, yeah, it could be that growing up with with a big family, but I mean, that's I think a different question. Like with parents that seem, at least on the surface, I mean, you're their kid, you might have a different experience of it, but seems so generous and loving and opening up their home and adopting more children and they're
Yeah.
still together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That's an incredibly
yeah.
unique
Well, my
thing.
parents just always taught us to like, I guess, be really selfless. I remember a story my mom told me growing up where they were basically out of money and they gave like the rest of their money to this like relative of ours that was in a tough situation.
Hmm.
And they said like the next year their business like took off, everything went really well. And they always felt like the more you gave, the more you got.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, no, it was good. I always enjoyed, like, my parents took in so many people, even outside of the ones they adopted. Like every summer there was there was some cousin or someone like living with us. Like I can't even count. Because
Did it
again,
annoy you? Was it annoying having new kids in the house? I mean,
no,
you
because
kids are
I
competing for attention on
no,
some level.
I mean, I guess partially, but I was really I did travel sports from a really young age. So I was gone. I did I basically had 4 hours of training every day from the time I
Mm,
was like 10 years old.
mm,
And then we would also travel like out of state. So I would go to like Vegas or St. Louis or whatever. Like that would be once or twice a month. So I was gone like a lot.
uh-huh.
Because I did really competitive volleyball and basketball. I did travel for both. So it was like a really tough schedule. So I
You
guess it didn't
you
really bother me if people weren't at home because a lot of time I wasn't.
Right. Right. You were active in sports, dedicated to sports. That was your life. What was your relationship like with your siblings? Did you guys all get along?
Oh no, of course not.
What was that like?
No,
I
no.
mean, what is it like?
No, I mean overall we get along, but there were definitely times where um yeah, there's so many. But yeah, to overall they're good. You know, my
What do they think of you? What do they think of what you're doing? Who
oh, I
you
mean
are,
there's
who you've
mixed
become?
opinions out of 10, like some like it, some don't like it.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they appreciate the trolls can be pretty ruthless. So sometimes they'll kind of make hit pieces like psychoanalyzing my family or like, and it's kind of my fault because in the beginning, I like put them on, like, I would like post pictures with them or whatever, but and that was before I was into the manosphere stuff so much.
Uh-huh.
So then I get into the manosphere stuff. Some of them kind of get harassed online. So I don't really I don't think they appreciate that, but um I don't know. My brothers are really supportive. Like my little brother helps me with a lot of it. Like he helps me with my accounting every month.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't know how to do it. I'm
And
like really bad.
do you consider yourself close? I mean, I get, yeah, obviously it's 9, 10 of you. Like I'm sure there's different degrees of closeness that you have with different siblings. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And you guys all get together still, like
Yeah.
holidays?
Well, there's twice a year when we usually get together. Christmas and then the 4th of July, but I've had to miss the 4th of July just because I've been in England. But when I'm home, like those are the two times a year everyone comes.
Mm. I get the feeling, well, you tell me, are you self-reflective? Do you think about like yourself or what's going on in your mind, or do you analyze how you feel, or do you just you just take action and you're doing your life?
Um, I'd say I'm sometimes. I find that my life is better when I'm less self-reflective.
Hmm.
Because I find if you focus too much on yourself, it just you kind of overthink stuff.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm self-reflective sometimes.
What do you think about? What do you reflect on?
Um, Mostly like how I can like handle situations the best. Or maybe like communicate things. Trying to think. Like, mm,
Have you
I might
said that? Go
oh
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I might reflect like if there's like a problem at work or at home, I might like think back like the best way to communicate something, maybe.
Have you said things, on your show or publicly or on podcasts that you regret or feel shame about, or embarrassed, or you wish you hadn't had said it because there's blowback, or maybe it didn't accurately represent exactly what you meant? You're
Not
talking
really.
all the time.
I mean, ever there's times when I've definitely I regret putting my like family at all on the internet
Uh-huh.
because I do feel a bit bad sometimes. But not really. Most of the stuff I say I don't really regret. There's times maybe I could have had more patience with guests, but
Mm-hmm.
typically, they don't show like the 2 hours of patience I had.
I understand.
And then they show the 10 minutes of patience I maybe lost.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd say sometimes I could have had more patience with guests. But or I wish I like controlled rooms better. I think that's like the one thing I don't do overly well. If there's a show of like women, it's
Yeah.
very hard to like control a room. You talk, you don't talk, and sometimes I don't have a more polite way of doing that rather than saying to shut the fuck up.
Right, right, right.
But I probably could have improved on that.
Interesting. What? Yeah, well, that's okay. That's normal stuff. So you're not spending a lot of time worrying about yourself and how you're coming off, or experience. I mean, do you, or maybe I'm wrong. Like, is there doubt? Is there fear? Is there uncertainty in this process? Like, because I guess you're expanding at such a rapid rate,
Mhm.
and I mean, you've become a cultural figure. Like, you're part of the fabric of, this online world, and you're like I said, a character in it, and you're having an impact, and you're controversial, and it's a lot to hold internally. Or do you just not think about it?
Um, I
Because
mean, I
everybody's
think
seen, you're being seen, you're being like looked at.
yeah. I mean, I think about it sometimes, but it's like I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Like, what am I gonna think out of it? Like, I can't help how people. I know you can always improve your communication, but at some point, people just don't like what you're saying, and so there's not really much you can do when
Yeah.
people. There's just certain things people don't want out there, and when you
Right.
criticize or go against women in any way they're gonna shout, they're gonna scream, and it's not really like my issue. I
Yeah, of
can't help
course,
how
of
they
course.
feel.
Right. But yet rationally, but you can understand that somebody from the outside looking in might be impressed by your ability to handle all of that controversy and all that pushback that you get, because it's not nice. It's like you're being demonized, you're being made fun of. Like, it's fucking cruel, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'd say last year was really hard. Last year I found really difficult. Because I basically had an old co-host of mine. Um, and I don't even always talk about him on podcasts because I don't like giving him clout, but but he basically came out and said I was like a colonizer. And it kind of hurt my feelings. Yeah,
Colonizer?
I know. I was like, I thought we were friends.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. Because I had once I had Nick Fuentes on, and it's funny. The one thing I do, I get scared saying his name sometimes because everyone gets so mad about him.
Yeah.
But basically, they started to say like I believed what he believed, and it was just like every podcast I went on, that was all they wanted to talk about was this guy that I interviewed. And then it was like all of these friends started saying I was like a racist, I was a colonizer, and it was just yeah, I don't know. Last year was hard, but I don't know. After that, I just stopped letting things get to me because I felt like I wasted so much of my time being like hurt almost
Mm-hmm.
that I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of wanted to like what I almost like was mad at myself for allowing it to get to me because it kind of ruined.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was like a couple months I was kind of bummed about it. So
Did you like cry? Did you have moments where you just like, you
no,
know,
yeah, I did. I did
you had,
once.
oh, you did?
Yeah, once. It was kind of embarrassing, but yeah, I did.
Why is that embarrassing?
Oh,
How could you? I can imagine there'd be lots of crying happening based on
no,
what you're
no,
facing. No?
no, just the once, but it was just a lot because it was like,
It's hurtful.
yeah, well, it was just like all of my, it was hurtful when it was coming from like people I was more close with, I guess. Like when it's strangers, you don't care
Right.
because they're strangers, they don't know you.
Right.
But it was like, people that I knew personally realized they could basically call me a racist, colonizer, all that. And I don't know, that was hard because it was like I knew them. And I didn't understand how you could spend like this much time around me and like be my like I mean, you work with
Yeah.
them, so maybe you're not like friends, but like friendly,
Yeah.
Um, and then just like say that. I mean, that kind of bothered me, but
You were
you kind of
betrayed.
yeah at the time, but you kind of get over it.
You do you?
Yeah, I mean you do. What else are you supposed to do?
Well, I guess it's also like you must, if you walk into a room, you're meeting new people, you have no idea what they think of you.
Oh yeah. No, it's awkward actually sometimes because sometimes I'll meet people, I'll be like, "Hi, I'm Pearl." And they have this energy. They have this energy. I'm like, "All right. Yeah, I'll tell you a story. There's a chick. I don't think she'll see this. There's a chick on my volleyball team, right? Hasn't talked to me for 6 months. 6 months. She refuses. Because of I'm sure we were friends before that. Because of something she saw online, I'm sure. I'm sure. And so it's
So
like,
you
what?
play volleyball together, but she doesn't
Yeah.
talk to you?
No.
And
Like,
did
I'll
she
give her a high
announce that
five.
she
I'll give
wasn't
her.
talking to you?
No, I just noticed it. I'd give her a high five. She'd just like look at me. Like I'd be like,
Wow.
but it's okay. She's. I think she might finally have gotten over it. We'll see. I think I'm close, but it's been like 6 months of this. That's not the majority of the team. I will say that's not the majority. The majority does not care. They don't follow this stuff. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. Right. But you also have a lot of admirers as well.
yeah.
And I guess it's given you access to all kinds of people in interesting situations. I mean, things have opened up for you, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Opportunities.
yeah, no, it definitely has. It definitely has. It's been cool,
How's that?
actually. It's been cool. I basically have been able to talk to most people I've wanted to meet, like that I used to watch on YouTube. I've basically been able to do like, you know, like collaborations or like meet them.
Right.
Kind of cool. It's really
Whoever you
interesting
want.
to like meet people in person that you've watched for like years. The only one I want to meet Thomas Sowell. That's like and Jordan Peterson. They're like left.
Right. Yeah. You could probably meet them.
I hope so.
Have you reached out to Jordan Peterson?
Yeah, yeah, we've talked about it. He follows me on Twitter, but
He does.
Mhm.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. Um, do you have role models? Like, are there, I mean, I want to say women, but maybe it's men, but are there women who were ahead of you, that you look at and you think, oh, I like what that person did. I want to have a career like her.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I was
I
thinking
like
about that myself. There's no one quite like you.
I was trying to think. I mean, I like Candace Owens a lot.
Mm,
I grew up watching well, I don't want to say grew up. They'll always I think around when I was like in college or high school, maybe I started watching the Daily Wire. So I've always really liked them.
mhm.
But no, I can't really think of anyone. And I really liked Kevin Samuels. So maybe they were like the Daily Wire and Kevin Samuels are maybe my biggest like inspirations.
I don't want to get into the Nick Fuentes thing, but I do want to go back and I did watch that trigonometry podcast,
Oh yeah.
which I thought they were being ridiculous.
I know.
It's
I
like,
know.
why you're responsible for Nick Fuentes'
Oh my
opinions?
God. I,
I don't
apparently,
understand that.
and it's funny because I was so busy at the time Nick came on that I knew he was controversial, but I definitely did not expect to like have 6 months of just like, why did you bring on Nick? Why did you bring on Nick? Like, I did not think that would happen.
But do you
Um,
like, but just the concept is like Nick comes on, he's got these controversial opinions, taboo opinions. And if you don't challenge him, you're being irresponsible. I don't understand that. Like that makes, from my perspective as somebody who's interviewing, I'm not going to challenge him. I want to know why he thinks
yeah,
what he thinks. Like if you let the audience decide if he's evil or not. But I don't, I guess what I'm saying is I think there's a lot of fear there.
yeah.
And you seem to not have that fear. Like, you seem fearless. That's the impression that I get from you. You don't give a fuck.
Well, I think you just grow up in this PC world. You just get so sick of it. And especially once you realize that men pander to you all the time, when you realize that, it's just like
What does that mean? Men pander to you.
men pander to us 24/7. They soften everything to not hurt our feelings to the point that we live in delusion. I
Right.
mean, like so you start to like realize that you just get kind of sick of it. I don't think it helps us.
You don't want to be pandered to.
Mm-mm.
No, you want the truth. And so what you're seeing, yeah, I mean, the feminism has been, yeah, perpetuating all of these lies, and ultimately they're harmful and destructive just because lies are.
Yeah.
And so you're coming with the truth and you're trying to set things straight. And a lot of the things have been said before by men, I think, but very few women. I mean, really only you, and now maybe more because you've inspired them, have started to say these things. And that's what I was struck by, because I've been thinking these things for 10 years, but what am I going to say about it? Nobody wants to hear it from me. And so when you started speaking to it, it gave it there's a lot of power and authority there.
Yeah. Trigonometry. Yeah, I was a bit taken aback because I mentioned in the car with one of the hosts on the way there that I was like, I guess I didn't directly say, don't ask me about Nick. So maybe, but I very much was like, yeah, everyone's been saying all these crazy stuff about me. And like, I kind of talked to him about that. And I was like, what? Why did you do it too?
Yeah, they attacked you.
Yeah, they totally did.
It was
And I was
bizarre.
considering suing. I was considering suing someone at the
Really?
time. Yeah, and that's why I kept telling them I can't talk about some of these things because at the time we were looking into like lawsuits. But I ended up not doing it. So, just because it just seemed like a waste of time, money, energy. I didn't feel like dragging it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was why. Yeah, that was why I was like, oh. And I liked them
Yeah.
too. I was like, why would you guys do that? And they keep bringing me up in all these other interviews. And if I respond, then it's like, and then they're like, oh, Pearl can't handle criticism. I'm like, you guys keep bringing me up.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so. I don't know.
Yeah, you provoke a lot of feelings in people. I mean, you trigger. You trigger.
I am a triggerer.
You are a trigger.
Yeah.
Have you always been that way? Like, were you provocative growing up? Were you a kid that would just speak the truth and upset everybody?
No, I mean, because I kind of look at the show and stuff as a debate. Like, this is a time where you are here to give your opinions. I've always been more conservative and maybe more of like closer friends would know. Like, I've always been pro life. I've always been like, um, but I mean, most people's interactions with me came from sports because that's what I was doing. And it's not like
Right.
what use, especially sports are more liberal. So what use are my opinions when I'm in the volleyball world? You know,
Yeah.
that it's going to cause drama on the team. It's funny because a lot of girls um that I used to know were like, "Oh, I can't believe this," and I'm like, "Well, you guys were raging liberals. I want peace in my
Right.
life, you know."
Right. Right.
I'm like, I was trying to play volleyball. And some of the stuff I genuinely didn't know till later. Like, I didn't really know much about family court. I didn't really understand
Right.
why men didn't want to get married when I first got into it. So some of it I didn't know until later in life.
Do you, I mean, I guess you've taken on a cause on some level,
Mhm.
this cause. Do you know why you took it on? Is there, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different layers to it, but do you have a sense of why you've chosen to take on this cause?
Yeah, but I don't want to say it on the podcast because it's like a personal thing.
Really? What do you mean? Do you mean
Yeah,
something in your, like,
I mean, I have a reason for it, but I don't like to talk about it publicly.
oh, okay. Yeah, I understand. Um, but can I talk around it?
You can talk around it.
Well, I just to I get something that happened to you personally that woke you up to something that was
No,
upsetting
it
for
wasn't
you, something
me.
painful.
No, it wasn't me, and that's why I don't
Oh,
like to like talk about it.
oh,
It was
I
just
see.
someone, yeah, because it's not really my like it's not my story to
I
tell.
understand. But
Yeah.
something happened, an event happened that had an impact on you and
Yeah.
made you wake up to something, and then you decided to take this on.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah.
fair? So it's
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah.
There's, yeah, yeah. Have you gotten a lot of feedback from women that's been encouraging and are grateful for the things you're saying?
Yeah, more than you'd think, actually. I get a lot of messages now that say that say I triggered them at first, but they finally understand what I'm saying. And it's funny because I felt that way about like certain content creators I used to watch where they would trigger me at first.
Uh-huh.
And then like the first time I saw Kevin Samuels, I called him a douchebag. It was pretty embarrassing. But then I watched him more and I was like, oh shit, he's right. He's actually right.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Interesting. Do you think about the kind of the art and craft of broadcasting, or are you just showing up with your personality? Like, is there, like, are you thinking about technique? Are you watching about
No,
like,
no, yeah, I do. I do study it. I'll give you an example. One thing I learned was that if no one is giving you any different ideas that you can like bounce off of, you can always like bounce off of yourself. So you can like argue with yourself.
uh-huh.
So I would like learn if there was a show and nobody was talking, because some shows like you would ask a question, they give you like one word answers, and you're just like, okay. I learned you could, so if I wanted to say, okay, you know, so many women think that they deserve the world. Like so many women say this, they say that, they say that. But I say that really you have to do things to deserve, you know. So it's like you're
Yeah.
arguing with
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you
So
set it up.
yeah, yeah.
So your skill as a host, as a broadcaster, has it's improved over time.
Yeah.
You feel like you're becoming more skillful at it.
Yeah. I actually do think I got slightly worse at hosting though, because I just started to get exhausted. I stopped doing the panel shows as a week ago. And
Oh,
I do more,
really?
yeah, I do more commentary now. I couldn't keep up with the schedule because
Hmm.
they would just go so late and I would just be so tired. And then it was like, I would have like 20 plus people a week that are in it. I was just too much. I don't know
That's a
how.
lot of, yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, so this is a kind of a new endeavor, right? That you're on a part of a new channel or something? What's happening? You're
Oh, no, it's not a new channel. I started this show Pearl Daily about 6 months ago,
okay.
where I would basically sit like this and give commentary, go over the news, whatever. And
Uh-huh.
I would give it from more of like a, I guess, RP conservative point of view. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's what it
Right.
is. So that's kind of where I see myself doing in the future.
What are your most controversial opinions? I mean, it's women shouldn't vote.
Yeah, that's my number one.
That's the number one. Uh-huh.
um,
That's a good one. I
I
mean, you
don't
had to know, like, I guess this is the thing, right? Like, there's things you believe. I'm not questioning the sincerity of your beliefs, but also like we're playing the attention game to some degree. So
yeah.
we know that provocation works. So like how do you kind of find that line between, because if you lose your integrity, like if you're
Mhm,
not being honest, then you really ultimately lose your audience. You have to be
mhm.
in your integrity. You have to say what you actually mean. And at the same time, there's that part of you. It's like, this is gonna fucking people are gonna freak out when I say this, and this is gonna be good.
No, the women shouldn't vote. I swear. I just believe that that's true. And I believe
When did
it's
that
true.
come to you?
So it came to me. I will say it did start as a joke. It did
It did
start as a
start.
joke. Now,
Okay,
okay, to
a
be
joke.
fair,
So that's what I'm saying. A
to
joke
be
to be provocative,
yeah,
right?
well, I mean, that's the one thing I don't understand. People say provocative. I'm like, do you guys not have a sense of humor? I'm like, you guys don't make jokes, be funny. But I started thinking to myself that women were too emotional to vote because I was doing these
Mm-hmm.
interviews and interviewing these women. And it's funny. I would even notice things that I do sometimes. So I'm not even saying I'm above it. But it's like you would say a fact and then they would first attack you. Then they would say, what about this? And it's just like, I got so
Right.
exhausted. I'm like, maybe we should return our rights. Okay. Then someone told me to look into the anti-suffragettes. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
anti-suffragettes was a group of women that were against women voting.
Yeah.
And I started reading their writings. And they basically said that if women got the right to vote, spending would go up, regulation would go up, and the family unit would break down. It's been 100 years. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Then,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I started to realize that the women that wanted to get the right to vote were the suffragettes, and they were depicted in all these like early posters as cat ladies. They were these same feminists that we see today. That's what they would make jokes because it was the married women, and they
Wow.
had posters that depicted like they said, if you want pro suffragette or whatever it was called, and it was like a like a spinster. This was like on the posters back then, and they showed the government spending in the states that allowed women to vote, and government spending in the states that didn't allow women to vote. And I mean, I think anyone that has a wife just knows that women we just like to swipe.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is
So,
true.
so it's like,
I'm
so,
constantly with my woman, like, babe, are you even aware of what fucking
no,
shit
well,
costs?
yeah, no, that's why my brothers help me with my accounting every month. It's
Right.
not even, it's not even, everyone always thinks my dad bankrolls this. He doesn't. But what they do is say, don't spend that, or like, you have to cut costs here or whatever. Um, but yeah, and I couldn't. And it's so funny because, I'm Catholic, but I've never been a Bible thumper. And I've
Mm-hmm.
never been overly like outward about being Catholic because it kind of gets weird to me when people start making it a part of their brand. I can't
Uh-huh.
describe why. I know everyone will give me the Bible quote that's like, you should tell everyone or something. I get it. it just something about it feels weird. Like I've always just felt like it's a private thing. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone's like, you got to wear it on your sleeve. It's just not
But
my style.
you have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
You just
But
don't talk about it.
yeah. Well, and I've never been like a diehard like Bible thumper, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because a lot of times people that like study the Bible, like that is their livelihood, they always back me up. I'll say things, right? And they'll show me a verse that like, and these conclusions I just come from like naturally looking at the world. Like I just look at the
Interesting.
world and I'm like, yeah, women shouldn't vote. Mm-mm. And and because one from the interviews, two from looking at the history of it, and it's rooted in communism. That's what they said back then. They said because it focuses on the individual and not the family.
Uh-huh.
So I thought to myself, I'm like, yeah, it would probably be a better place if we didn't vote. Then I found out we
That,
all vote Democrat. I'm like, it definitely has to go.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's
I,
unlikely. I would say net taxpayers are a better option moving forward because we spend so much money with all our debt. We'd just be out anyway. um,
yeah. Yeah.
but it's funny, there's like a Bible verse that says that women should not impose their will over men, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
paraphrasing. I know the Jesus people in the chat will be like, but but it really goes back to what the Bible says too. So
Do you think that your opinions on this are informed by the fact that you have a very strong, loving father that you have a good relationship with, and you've I guess grew up feeling safe, and maybe other women who did not grow up with that, which is a lot of women,
mhm.
an absent father or maybe an abusive father, that's like part of, I don't know why you think the way you think and why they think the way they think.
Probably. But I actually don't think, and maybe in your practice, it'd be interesting to see if you've come to the same conclusion. I don't think deadbeat dads are near as common as we thought they were. What I found more was women that are in the kid's ears for a lifetime about how much they hate the dad, but the kid hasn't ever asked for his side of the story. I found that
Mm-hmm.
way more than I found like deadbeat dads.
Yeah. What I see is weak men, weak dads,
Yeah.
and overpowering, devouring mothers.
Yeah.
And what happens is unconsciously the children they long for the father. So there's a process called family constellations where you sort of set up your family. It would be really interesting in your case since you have so many siblings, but you sort of put them around the room in the way that they, in a place that they like metaphorically how they felt to you. And so what the most common configuration is, you somehow put your mother very close and your father far away. Well, and very often the mother will be blocking the father, and you let these processes just sort of play out. You facilitate them, and you're in a regress state, like you're 5 or 6 years old. And what happens more often than not is the person ends up like on the floor crying, screaming for their father. And when I saw that, it had a profound impact on me. It made me realize like how much not only I was longing for my father, but like how many people like need and want their father. And I think what I from that lens, what I see is a culture that's longing for the father and missing the father, whether that's God the father or that's the actual father. And so the responsibility from my point of view is ultimately for men to show up in a stronger way. That'll solve the problem.
Mhm.
And that a mother left to her own devices without a father there offering the balance will devour the child. She almost can't not.
Yeah.
Like the impulse to kind of protect or whatever, or get her needs met through the child will end up devouring the child. So if the father's not there to kind of offer that counteracting force, then the child gets all
I have a
fucked up.
question,
Yeah.
actually. I want to know if you agree or disagree. And I want to give you my premise. And I'm
Okay.
just curious in your practice.
Yeah.
I think that women are not more nurturing. I think they're less nurturing. And the reason I think this is because I couldn't find any evidence to support that they were. I looked into women killing infants and the elderly, and they're more likely to do it. They're the like
Uh-huh.
I found out infanticide, which is like I think when they kill the baby in the first 48 hours, it's
Yeah.
like 100% women. Basically, it's like they said it was so unheard of for a man to do it. It was like
Yeah.
they never do it. And because my thought was, what is nurturing? That's how you are towards the innocent. And I think when men fight, they tend to fight for like reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So like, one that I hear a lot is like respect. I used to react to like um music where they would talk about fighting. And that was like the one. It was always about like respect. I'm not saying that's a good reason to fight, but in their mind, like someone did something. But when I think of nurturing, I think of like how are you towards the innocent? And
Mm-hmm.
I find that women are not nicer towards the innocent. Like, if anything, they're worse. If we include, now some people are pro choice, but I'm pro life. So, abortion, I'm like, we are the most likely ones to kill the kids. So,
Mm-hmm.
how can we be more nurturing if there's no evidence to show that we're more nurturing?
I mean, I love the question. I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. It depends how you want to define nurturing. I mean, I think there is an instinct in women when they have children to nurture them that is different than the man. But I'll say this: I think women are more cruel than men, and I think that I would be more terrified of a female leader and her tyrannical ability than I would be of a man. It feels to me that men have some kind of code, honor among men. I don't see that with
Have you
women.
researched like female queens in history? They were
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah. I know, I know. It's the worst drug cartel leader back in the heyday of Miami was this woman. Like she would kill her enemies' children. So I think women are capable of as much brutality, if not more, than men, and I think that is a fucking illusion that needs to be shattered. Women can be unbelievably cruel and self-serving, and I think that's part of the facade that is being lifted by you, which is great because it's almost when you make women innocent in that way, you're infantilizing them,
Oh, yeah.
and it's actually dehumanizing. When you put all the bad in the world on the men, it actually is it's dehumanizing to women.
Yeah. Well, and also I couldn't believe like the lengths that women would go to not let like men that wanted to be fathers see their kids.
Yeah.
It like I did a bunch of those interviews where I interviewed men that basically like a bunch of them lived a mile from their kids. They couldn't see them. And it was so sad. It's like the life is like gone in their eyes. I don't know how you can like do those interviews and not have like a different view on the world because I would just interview like guy after guy after guy falsely accused in court, hasn't seen
Right.
his kid in 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you think of deadbeat dads, you always think of like these guys that don't want to be in their kids' lives. But what I
Mm-hmm.
found was typically the guy would um meet the woman between the ages of like 27 to 32 and there'd be an unplanned pregnancy within the first year. She'd get 1 to 2 kids, stop sleeping with him for a year, and then falsely accuse him and then file for divorce. That was like the
Yeah.
pattern I saw. And then a lot of them did it during COVID, so that like pushed it off.
Yeah.
It was just so, and that's why I was like, are we really more nurturing? Because I would do these interviews. I'm like, this does not. I'm like, ladies, what are we doing? This is
Yeah,
crazy.
no, I get your point. It's definitely a point worth making. I mean, in those situations, I mean, from my perspective, if I'm talking to those men, the question I'm asking is, why did you get involved with a woman like that? Like you have, that's the man's responsibility in that sense. Like, how did you get drawn in by somebody who's going to be ultimately betray you like that and be that manipulative? Like there must be something inside them that's like they're co-creating it in a way.
Yeah. Well, for some of them, yeah, because some of them, I'm like, this lady had like a chest tattoo. What are you doing? But
Well, what?
some of them were like nice girls. Like I interviewed one guy. She was a homeschooled virgin Christian chick. What more was he
Hmm.
supposed to pick for?
Right, I
Like
understand.
they get like the wrong social media in their ear, these girls. That's the pattern I found too. Maybe you have too, I don't know, but the women would like get with like a certain group of women and then they would just go crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. Are women capable of self-responsibility?
Yeah, I think so.
Should they be?
Yeah.
Well, but you can see the contradiction in the argument about voting, though, right? Like, if women are capable of self-responsibility and self-reflection, then they should be able to then have power in society.
Yeah. See, I would disagree. I'll tell you why. I
Okay.
think if we have the same responsibility that men do, then sure, we can have the freedom that comes with it. But until we do the selective service, until we're net taxpayers, which most of us are not,
Right.
until we don't have a bunch of debt, until we start doing the hard job, if we split the hard jobs 50-50, I'll let the women in the military vote if they can
Right.
actually pass the same test.
Right.
I don't even think most men should vote either. But I think women, it's like way worse. Like I would rather have all men voting easily rather than all women.
Uh-huh. Right. I guess I have a I mean, I hear what you're saying, and it's not that I disagree with really much of what you say. It's just, it's all perspective, and it's like you're making these arguments and they're valuable arguments and you're putting them out there. And you're calling out women, which I think is necessary and it's important. Do you did you always get along with women? I mean, you played volleyball. I guess you always like there's a lot of
I
camaraderie.
Yeah, I definitely did not have like I never had guy friends. I always had female friends growing
You
up.
never had guy friends.
No, because I was in volleyball. So
Right.
I mean I might have some like now. I mean, like through work or whatever, like friendly, I guess you could say.
How's
But
dating for you now that you're in this position?
um sorry, there's a bug. Um yeah, dating is different. Dating's different. I do keep that stuff offline, but yeah. But
Yeah, no, I
I do have
understand,
one
but
or two funny stories that
uh-huh.
I might tell someday on a podcast, but not today.
Do you worry about your viability as a partner because of the exposure that you have and how public you are?
Um, well, not really. No, I just kind of
No.
no.
Is it make it harder to do you worry that it's going to make it harder to meet people, or that the people you meet that they may not be perfectly sincere, or they might have an agenda? Like, does it
Yeah,
make you more guarded?
I prefer to date people that don't watch it because it's just a
Right.
weird dynamic. Like I've been like proposed to on a first date before. Like,
Really?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously that's not like the norm, but it's kind of like they'll put you on a pedestal sometimes, but you're still like a person. So I've just found I prefer it if they're not really into the type of content.
Right. You want to get married and have children?
Yeah, I do.
You do.
Mhm.
Because you're young, you have lots of time. Well, not lots of time, I guess, right? How old are you?
Yeah,
27?
yeah. I just turned 27.
You just turned 27. So that must be on your mind then.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Hmm. That's is that weigh on your mind? Is that I mean, I know you're very involved in your career, but you in some way I guess it's twofold. Like you have a lot of exposure, so you have a lot of eyeballs on you. So that would increase the number of suitors that might be coming your way. And at the same time, you come with, you know, something. I don't say baggage because it's not emotional baggage, but you come with a career. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think you would argue, right? And you probably have argued on your show that men aren't interested in that.
Yeah, they
Like
don't
they don't
really
want that.
care. It's not
What's
their.
that?
No, like men don't really care about the career part. Like, I mean, I haven't found
But
that men like care that much one way or another.
but if you're busy with your career, I mean, because I was in Hollywood. I was an actor for a long time,
Mhm.
and I was a little bit famous, and I dated some starlets, and I could feel the place where it was like, do I want to? This is a lot to handle. This person's really famous, and there was some kind of appeal. Like it's a challenge, and I could actually
Yeah.
feel like that. Being famous. I mean, I heard Ben Affleck talk about it, like the burden of it. Like he hates it. He's like the only good thing about it is I get into restaurants, but otherwise it's a fucking pain in the ass. And I mean, maybe you haven't felt the effects of fame quite yet, but you are, you know,
Yes, I live
quite
such a
famous.
normal life that I don't even feel fame. It's funny because my producers always joke about this because I always say
Yeah.
I'm not famous. I'm like, oh, it's internet famous. It doesn't count. And so I live like a pretty normal life. Like I don't really buy super expensive stuff. I don't really go to super expensive places. But in terms of like the time management, I actually prefer it now to when I worked a corporate job. Because now I can like if I want to take off 2 weeks and go somewhere,
You just do it.
I just do it. Yeah.
That's nice.
I kind of prefer it now because I have a lot more control over my schedule. So maybe you have more hours. I guess that's true, but it's kind of easier to like move your schedule. I can work whenever
Hmm.
I feel like it.
Are you insecure?
Sometimes
What are you
depends about,
insecure about?
mm, I want to lose like 10 pounds.
You want to like every woman.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
like 20.
You're like
But,
20.
yeah.
You're tall.
Oh, I love being tall. I wouldn't trade
How
that.
tall are you?
I think I'm like superior to other people because I'm tall.
I think all tall people feel that way.
Yeah, I've always heard. I saw this movie that came out about these girls that like were super insecure about being tall. And growing up, all my friends were tall because we all did sports. Like I know a girl that was 6'5". There's nobody that wanted to be
Wow.
short. Yeah, I know. I know. Even she married a guy that was 6'10".
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got to have a tall guy.
Yeah.
That's all.
Um, but yeah, I guess I want to lose weight. Am I insecure about anything?
Like,
No, not height. I like being a redhead too. Some gingers
oh,
don't like it. I love being a ginger. I think
you love,
yeah, I'm like 1% of the whole world. My mom always told me growing up, she's like, you got to be proud of that because I wanted redheaded kids.
really?
Yeah, my mom she was so excited too because the red hair comes from my dad. So she was so excited she got redheaded kids. Like we all have red hair. Like nobody looks
Did
like us. I think it's awesome. I
do
don't
you
like.
th- do you think that growing up, I don't know, is there the first thought that came to my mind is okay, there's nine of you
Mhm.
and you have to be competing for attention.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
But we would compete
is
by being really good at things.
oh, like to get their
Yeah.
praise?
Yeah, yeah. Work ethic was super important in my family. This is why I
Uh-huh.
say I'm a hard worker. I'm my dad's favorite. And but yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm my dad's favorite.
Well, actually, no. My little brother works harder than me. He's actually I'm second.
Right.
I'll take
But
second.
you wanna be dad's favorite.
Yeah. So everyone
Yeah.
would just do like sports or like everyone. It was really known in my family that you like if you were not doing a sport, you were working. Like
Uh-huh.
you are not just sitting at home. And my dad was a really successful guy, like super successful. He had like a business, like 200 plus employee. Like he did, my mom and him like did it together. And, they did well, but it wasn't about that. They're like, you're not getting any designer stuff. You were working just like the rest.
Right.
Well, for
Yeah.
me, it was sports, but, so.
You don't seem, I mean, I was thinking about talking to you and, I was watching a lot of the clips and trying to like, what am I going to talk to you about? And what I mean, I can see things, about you but I also can see that you're not particularly neurotic. Or are you?
What is neurotic? Which one is that?
Like,
I know
like,
I've read these before, but
like neurotic means like kind of like sort of self-obsessed or nervous or anxious or about yourself or how you appear or um yeah.
I wish I was a little more neurotic because sometimes they make hit pieces where they're just going in on my style or whatever. So I was like, maybe I could use a little more of
Your
that.
fashion style,
Yeah, they don't like it. Like all the girls
and
on Twitter.
you just laugh about it.
Well, I do sometimes they give me helpful tips. They're like, that's your color. I'm like, thank you.
But it's incredible. Like I mean, you genuinely seem to handle this without, and I guess that's why you're doing what you do. I don't think I could handle it, honestly. Like what's coming at you. Like, I don't know that I could take all that.
Well, I don't know. I just enjoy, well, I don't enjoy that part, but I really enjoy, I've always really liked media. And I
Uh-huh.
really felt like once I figured out what was true, which is that women shouldn't vote, that everyone should know. I feel like I'm helping them out. Like we live in a world where everyone lies to you. Even men, it's funny. I can feel it. I'm like, the men kind of know. They're like, we kind of know they shouldn't
Yeah,
vote.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah,
no
I
one's
know
gonna
what you're
do career
saying.
suicide by saying that.
Was there a moment you came to the conclusion like the things that were in your head or the things that you had to say like had value and had utility in the world and that you could make a career from saying them? Does that make sense?
I think it was when I released the long form reaction videos where I
Mm-hmm.
would calmly explain to women over three imagine it takes 3 hours to explain to someone they're wrong. 3 hours. I was like, I understand why the men are just like, we're just gonna work a job and not deal with this. But yeah, I think in that time, sometimes I used to memorize speeches in high school. Like I could recite almost word for word any given Sunday.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Like
Have
I
you
used to
done
just
that
really
recently?
enjoy like motivational speeches. I used to just watch them. Yeah,
Interesting.
I used to love like listening to them. I'd like run and like listen to whoever or like
So
train.
have you had you've always had a drive, I guess, to be successful?
It's not even about I've always had a drive to be talented, and I think that's different than success. Because when I think of success, I think of money. And
Uh-huh.
it's never really I've never really been money motivated. I almost look at media like an art where you can depict what's going on in society. And I almost look at it like a more real version of a movie in a way.
Yep.
Like even when I did the Tate panel a year ago, I wanted to make sure I had people that represented like all different viewpoints that are going on in society.
Yep.
Um, and so that's like always what I try to do, at least with the panels. So I've always just liked, like I've always gotten something out of being talented at things. So like I play guitar, I do piano, I sing, I can memorize a script. Like I play volleyball, I played basketball. Like I've always just, it's not even about like the validation or whatever that comes with. It's more just like I enjoy being like good at things. Like
For
it's not even
and
about, the success or whatever.
I hear like creative, like you enjoy
Yeah.
being creative.
Yeah.
Do you think of yourself as a creative person, as a creator? I mean, you are, I guess, a creator.
Yeah. No, I've always kind of thought of myself as a creative. I love like I write songs and stuff too. So I
But you
like
said that you said that like kind of quiet. Like, how is that? Are
so
you shy about being a creator? Like, what's your identity? How do you identify? How do you think of yourself?
um I don't know, the same as everyone else. Like, um well, I identified with volleyball for a really long time. I guess
That's what,
now,
as an athlete.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think daughter, I guess right now. Daughter.
And
Yeah.
daughter.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know, I value my relationship with my dad a lot. So
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah, so I kind of
It's probably your relationship with your father, which this is my instinct, and your closeness to him, and the love you feel from him that gives you the strength to be able to do what it is you're doing.
yeah. Yeah, well, because I remember it was funny when I was a kid. I remember this story, or this not story, this event when I was a kid. I was really frustrated. I'm like really bad at math. I'm very disorganized. Like it's not I've overcome it. I've developed systems to kind of help myself with it, but like
Uh-huh.
very disorganized person. That's why I rescheduled twice on you. I'm very sorry.
It's all right.
And so but I was really frustrated because I had a math test and I was like studying for the math test and I just couldn't get it. And I was like crying to my dad. I was like such a woman. I'm crying over a math test. And like, but I was crying. And my dad is super smart. Like he went to the University of Chicago. So you have to be like really smart to get into that school. And I just remember being like, Dad, like you don't know, you don't understand what it's like. Like you're smart. I'm not smart. I've never been smart. Like I just can't do it. And he told me when I was a kid that, I would take a hardworking employee over a smart one any day. And you have
Mm,
work ethic and you can't teach that. Like nobody can give you that. And he's like, you're gonna get older in life and you're gonna look back and you're gonna see the people that like worked hard in life and the people that didn't. Um,
right.
and the older I got, the more true it was. Like I'd see like my friends from high school get kind of fat. I'd see like I'd see like my friends from high school, like some of them would really struggle with money or struggle with whatever. Um, but the ones that like worked hard, I would just see them have really successful outcomes. And so I don't know, like that conversation kind of shaped a lot of my life because I always would kind of think back to that. And I realized that I could get good at whatever I wanted to. And I kind of
I
just felt
see.
like whatever I wanted to try, I could get good at. And I really haven't been proven wrong. I mean, I mean, everything I've done, I've been decent. I mean, I wanted to go D1 and I wanted to win a national championship for volleyball. I didn't do that,
Uh-huh.
but I still took it pretty far. So I just found in life that like I was just more fulfilled when I was like getting better and improving at things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
And you're a talent.
yeah,
Yeah. Like you know that. Like you have a gift. Like
yeah,
you explain things really well, you articulate them. Your mind thinks in a way that's just even allowing yourself to have the thought that women shouldn't vote right now most people wouldn't even allow that thought to come in, never mind start to deconstruct it, think
yeah.
about the validity of it, and then fucking say it out
Well,
loud.
mind you, I have 10,000 videos on my channel.
Right.
So, so a lot of that, some of this stuff triggered me at first, but if you watch enough of it, you're like, oh, I see what they're saying. You start to kind of understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was your mom like?
My mom was very organized. Like that's like the first thing I think of when I think of my mom.
That's the
I'm very
first
dis-
thing you think
Yeah,
of?
no, you'd have to. Okay, she has these videos on her like Instagram. You'd have to like watch them to understand. But she is like the queen of organization. Like I would
Uh-huh.
drive her nuts growing up because I just was not. And yeah, she like color coded everything, like had like label makers, like um yeah, my mom's a hard worker too. She's definitely a hard worker.
How did she impact your
She's
life?
tall. She's what? Sorry, go
How
ahead.
did she impact your life?
Um yeah, my mom, I would say I'm really grateful for, I'll tell you one thing I'm grateful for from my mother. When I was a kid, I really hated, I'm very much not, I guess, appearance oriented. Okay. I very much did not like makeup, hair, any of that stuff. I just wasn't into it. My mom is more of like a girly girl, so she's more into that stuff.
Uh
But she always told me tattoos are trashy. She always told me you can't dress like a like all this stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when I was a kid, I was such an asshole. I played a prank on her where I like pretended to get like a big tattoo. She
Uh-huh.
was so mad. I was such an asshole. And but I never got one because I was a little bit afraid. I was afraid of her a little bit. Because I knew she'd be pissed. And I'm really thankful for that now. I'm very thankful
Yeah.
for that
Yeah.
because I think tattoos are so ugly now. Sorry if you have one. I just mean it.
I'm with you.
um and yeah, I would say that's like how she impacted me the most, maybe, was like she was very into like the appearance stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
and the organization stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I try with I've actually some of the systems. My mom flew over last year to help me with like the organization. She
Mm.
like helped me just organize my apartment.
Right.
um but yeah, that's like the things that I think of when I think of like what my mom taught me, I guess.
How old is your audience?
um I'd say it's mostly between the ages of like 25 and like 35, maybe.
Oh, really?
I think was my biggest demographic, men. Yeah.
Men 25 to 35.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact age bracket. My second is like men over the age of 45 though. It's been slowly getting older. The less I've been doing the like crazy panels. I think old men are just done with the drama. They're like, we don't want to watch this.
Right. I understand. Um, oh, that's really, I mean, it makes sense. That makes sense. But I guess are there teenage younger girls watch your show
You know, it's
as
interesting. I
well?
have a second channel. I don't post much on it. But it's called Wife School. And it was basically
Oh,
a lot of people like market. They said I was teaching people how to be a wife. It's really annoying. They would troll me with that. I wasn't even doing that. But it was about I would bring in like wives to teach like certain lessons. So like I brought on one lady to teach me how to like cook stuff or like whatever.
uh-huh.
And yeah, so that one was like 50% women.
Wow.
But no,
So
overwhelmingly women don't watch my stuff. I'd like to say that was an
really,
anomaly. No. No, maybe I think at most I got to 20% women on YouTube, but I think I can even look now, but I think it's
that's
gone down.
amazing to me.
Really? Do you think women enjoy hearing about how they shouldn't vote?
Well, I guess not. I mean, well, just that they would watch, like hate watch or
Oh, I'm at
watch to be
10% women right
outraged.
now. I got up to
What?
20% at one point.
That's your YouTube?
Yeah.
10%?
Yeah. 10% women.
Oh
I,
my God.
yeah.
Well, I guess Jordan Peterson says, right, yeah, YouTube is skewed male, but what about on TikTok? Is it the same kind of
No, I
numbers?
used to have a 80% female audience on TikTok,
Okay.
but I did
Right.
different
So,
types of, it was more vlog stuff that I used to do.
right.
That was like different.
Are you a role model? Do you think of yourself that way?
Um, no, not really. I kind of just look at myself as a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I try to be like I have little sisters, and I guess I probably am maybe to some people online, but I think
You
it's like
must be.
better for people to have role models like in their real life rather than on the internet, which is interesting being an internet personality.
Right.
but
Well,
but just being online, like
yes.
you never know someone's personal life, and like they say never to meet your heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and being like I think it's like better for people to find people in like their real life that they can actually like receive mentorship rather than like
Hmm.
a stranger on the internet.
Yeah, of course. But people are going to turn you into that, whether
I'll do my
whether you like
best.
it or not.
Yeah,
You'll do your.
I'll do my best. You know?
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, the issue is you'll inevitably disappoint people. There's
Yeah.
no way around that. I assume you watch your stuff and you watch yourself and sort of analyze. What is it when you're watching yourself, or just in your life? What do you like most about yourself? Like, what do you admire? What do you go, oh, that's good?
I like being tall a lot. I genuinely think I'm better than everyone because I'm tall.
Uh-huh.
um
That's a deflection.
I would say, I don't know, I was just raised to be a hard worker. And people conflate that with being like a boss babe or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
really think that you should be a hard worker, whether you're a housewife or you like, I just think there's virtue in like working hard. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I've always like worked hard. So, and I'd say
Hard
I'm
work.
genuinely nice to people. I'm thoughtful. So
You're Oh, okay. You think of yourself as you're yeah, you seem to have a healthy self-esteem.
thank you.
Yeah. Like there's no reason. I guess that was the issue. Like when I was interviewing Tate, in my mind, I'm like, Tate needs therapy. Um, you know, and maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But with you, I don't get that sense that you need that. Like you do you have a therapist? Have you ever been to therapy?
I'm not the biggest fan of therapy. I gotta be honest, you know.
Why not?
I think overall it does more harm than good. I actually was in school to get a psych degree here.
Hmm.
But I did it because I didn't really care about it. I kind of just thought it would be easy. No offense. Um, and I went to, no offense. And so it was like with the volleyball program I was doing, you had to
Yeah.
sign up for something. So I was like, I ended up dropping it because the channel took off.
Yeah.
But I kind of look. I met the future therapists. Okay, I'm sorry. They are doing more harm
Yeah.
than good. Like
Yeah.
I would say 80%. I also believe only men should be therapists. I know there's the exceptional woman. I'm sure that's good at it, but
Yeah.
I just think men look more to solve problems where women look more to comfort. And
Right.
I think if you go to a therapist, they're trying to like fix something. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. I understand. I think you're right. I think most therapists are not very good, but there are good ones out there. And they can help, I think. But I understand. I understand the pushback against
yeah,
therapy.
well, I just think if you had to bet and you like picked a random therapist, like I just
Yeah,
think like
no.
more of them will hurt than like help. I have a friend. She went to therapy for 4 years. 4 years. She's still crazy. I'm like, what are you doing? What is this
Yeah.
person doing? You've given them your money for 4 years? That's like almost half a decade. When are they going to fix what they need to fix? I told her this.
Hmm.
She didn't
Well,
like
it's
it.
not. It's not necessarily about. I think the reason that most people go to therapy is because their feelings or their experiences weren't validated or seen or understood. So they don't understand themselves, and most people, that's all they need. If you have parents that are loving and nurturing, you probably don't need therapy. Parents who paid attention to you, who were basically present for you. But if you had absent parents in some way, that's devastating to a child because the child can not interpret that any other way than there's something wrong with me or I'm unlovable or I'm bad in some way. And so they carry that imprint in their psyche throughout their lives and then end up making that manifest. So that's how I think about it. And so you're trying to help those people who got hurt uh, as children and don't even understand how that impacted their psyche, like sort of get them out of that matrix and into self-acceptance. But you can't, yeah, and solving that problem is,
Gotta take
yeah,
less
it's
than 4 years weekly.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't, 4 years is a long time.
Then she
Four
started
years is a
telling me
long
she's
time.
like this old single lady. I'm like, look, 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 look.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
She's
understand.
like
I
super
am,
liberal. I'm like,
yeah, no, don't go to a liberal therapist. I would agree with that. But I guess so I'm a fan. I love your message. I think you're really wise. I think it's good what you're doing in the culture. I think you're delightful. I think you're very charming. Like your
thanks.
laugh, you know what I mean? There's something playful. Like you get away with things because you're playful and you don't take it too seriously, but you're also firm, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I try to be. I wish I was more firm, to be honest, because some of these chicks, they get on the show, they just think it's their show.
Right. Right.
I
But the
want to like
advantage
find a
that
nicer way to say, shut the fuck up. Sorry, I just enjoy that one.
yeah, no, I understand. Well, no. But I guess if I was to challenge you, right? I would say that you had it, and I said that we talked about this before, but the advantage you had is you had an extremely loving present father. And so that's how you experience reality through the lens of having a loving, caring, nurturing, present father. A lot of women didn't grow up with that. And so their lens of reality is distorted. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be there telling them the truth. You should be. But you can understand why maybe some of them have these beliefs because they're deeply insecure and they are uh reacting to, I don't know, something painful for them. Like do you see that in these women, or are
Oh
you
no, you're right. You're so right. I mean, in it, uh, even talking to OF girls, kill me. I'd rather die than talk to another one. Um, but it's always either a weak father. It's crazy. I've had so many OF chicks tell me that their mom pushed them on OnlyFans.
I believe that.
Yeah, but even outside, I have one that said her mom was going to join her. I'm like, crazy people. But no, when you like it's weird. I can like tell a lot of the time when people don't have parents just on how they talk.
Yeah.
Because there's like or it's usually when they don't have a dad because they have this unwavering like wanting to protect women. I
Yeah.
noticed this especially in men. I know we're talking about women, but I noticed it even more in men. It's like even more apparent because they kind of talk like a woman. They use like they sort of have more like feminine mannerisms. They argue
Yeah.
like a woman. um Women, I see it also the same, where even some of the ones with two parents, their dad was so weak that
Yeah.
they may as well have had one parent in the home.
Yeah.
So I see that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that because that's kind of the thing that I'm championing, and I think that's the reason that people like Tate and Jordan Peterson are so popular is because what they're telling men to do is to stand up and take responsibility and to be strong, and that ultimately this problem is going to be solved by strong men. But women need to take responsibility and take ownership of their blind spots and come into the fucking reality of what the world actually is, and which is what you're doing.
Yeah. Or hear me out. One thing could solve it. Women not voting.
You love
You
to say
can't.
it. You love to say it. How much? Tell me the pleasure, right? There's something in you that's a little like devious, right? Like you enjoy it. You enjoy fucking with people. You have to. There's nothing
Yeah, I
wrong with that.
mean,
It's not a
yeah.
judgment.
Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I I'm just always like I've just always been a fun person. I think we should be able to have, fun.
Yeah. No, I love it. I
um
appreciate it.
like yeah, even when I was younger, like I was always like rollerblading with my dog through campus.
What is the meaning of that? You're
Like,
rollerblading with your dog
yeah,
through
like,
campus?
well, yeah, because I would like come to class with rollerblades and my dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had
Where'd
to
you go
stop
to
with the dog though, but the blades stayed.
Where'd you go to college?
It was a small school by Chicago.
That's where you kids have a Chicago accent. Yeah. You
Yeah,
grew up.
yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Now you're in Do you like London?
I hated it at first, actually. I used to hate it. It's kind of growing on me. I like how people are proper here. I think it's like nice.
Mm.
There's like a level of class you get from like the Brits that Americans don't really have. Like, I mean, where I'm from, my no, I mean we kind of dressed like we were homeless. They're kind of like proper here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You've been there
um,
how long?
2 years, 2.5
No.
maybe now. So
And
a
you
good amount of time.
plan
I wanted to leave for a while. I still might. I'm at a point in my life where I have to like decide where I want to plant roots because I've sort of moved around more than I wished I had. So I don't know where though, because Chicago, my dad has a really cool house in Chicago. My family's there, but it's the state taxes you up the wazoo. The whole state's going downhill. Then it's like I could go to Florida, but I don't know anyone in Florida. Then I'd have to start over. It sounds like a lot of work. So I don't know.
Texas? Why not come to Austin?
um, who would I know in Austin? I don't know anybody in Austin.
Well, you know me. You know me now, Pearl. I'm
I
in
know
Austin.
in Florida, at least my parents have a house there. So
Oh, they have a house there?
yeah, they do.
So you may stay in London, you may not. You don't know.
I don't know. I know.
You
Everyone
don't know.
asks me every other week if I'm staying or going.
Well, it's
Um,
nice you're right. Europe's right there.
I know, I know. I wanted to we just got demonetized, so that kind of
For what?
apparently I can't say tranny or that
Mm,
men are smarter than women by a lot and it's not even close.
mm.
And I guess those two things got me
Can't
demonetized.
say that.
I know they told me that in my YouTube meeting. I started laughing. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Well, you had a meeting?
Yeah, well, I went and met with my YouTube rep to figure out why, because I didn't know why I got demonetized.
You can't say that? You can't say
Yeah,
that.
I can't
Wow.
refer because women are a protected group. So apparently I could say that woman is stupid as many of the hit pieces. And I asked them, I'm like, okay, so these hit pieces on me, they can do that, but I can't say that women are dumber than men. I'm like, they go into everything. They attack me all the time. They can do that. But I guess they can because I'm an individual.
Right. But
And I
are
attacked
men
a
a
group.
protected group?
Of course not.
Are
Christian,
white
Christian,
people?
probably not. I doubt it. I mean, I it's on YouTube. You can look up the guidelines.
Well,
I
if women are a protected group, and I mean, there it is, and they shouldn't be allowed to vote. I mean, they need special care. If women need special care and they need to be protected, well, then,
I convince everyone women shouldn't vote. That's like my number one.
yeah, you've convinced me. I'm going to take this back to my fiance and see what she says. I think she'd probably be open to it.
Yeah, I'll send you guys shirts if you want some.
Oh my God.
You can get on a
I don't know
t-shirt.
about that. I don't know about that. I have a
Well,
lot of
why
female
not?
clients. I
We
don't know
could
how
like
they're going to go for that.
I mean, you could see how emotionally available they are, like mature by how they react to a t-shirt. No, I think it's a great test. I think it's a great test.
Look at you. Look at your smile. You're devious, right? You've always had that little playful, like, I'm gonna, push the buttons and fuck around. Has it always been part of your personality?
Yeah, my teachers in high school didn't like me that much. They told me I'd never be successful in life.
Wow.
Well, Mrs. Loy. Say your name.
You're winning.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, to be fair, I did always miss that class, but I aced it anyway. I was like, I don't have
Mm,
to come.
wow.
She didn't like that.
Um, is that enough?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Should
there's
I
more,
pass
but
therapy?
past therapy. Yeah. Well, I don't have anything for you. I mean, like I said, you don't seem particularly neurotic. Um, you had loving parents. I'm sure there's issues there, but also you're 20, you just turned 27, and if you need therapy, you usually don't realize it until you're in your 30s and you start to see patterns play out on your life. and you're like, oh, I've done this before, or I've had this argument with this boyfriend over and over and over again. It's the same argument. There's something going on in my psyche that I don't understand. And that's usually the time where you want to start to unravel it. But in the place that you're in, it's like you're doing great. Like keep going. There's no problem.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. It's great to talk to you, and I'll be watching, seeing where you go next.
Um, well, can I tell them where to find me?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, guys, subscribe to Just Pearly Things and Just Pearly Things 1 on Instagram. And I'm on Twitter, Pearly Things with a Z.
You're the best on Twitter. You just came on Twitter and took over. You're just blasting all day long.
I know. They're like, shouldn't you be in the kitchen? And I'm like, I'm in the kitchen tweeting. Thank you.
Yeah, you're in the
I'm
kitchen
like, I get
tweeting.
paid to tweet. This is the best job ever.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
demonetized on YouTube. I got to go to tweet.
You're on X now. Pearl, thank you so much. Great to meet you. And yeah, maybe we'll do this again.